Oh, hello, hello. Hope you're well. Evening, evening. Welcome everyone. Hope you're good. First day of shakedown. Private. Shakedown. Done. If you can call it private. Although the security around the track and the police want to keep it private, or F1 and Liberty Media want to keep it private, don't they? Even if it means maybe breaking the law and doing things that they shouldn't be doing. But hey ho, hey ho. Welcome everyone, hope you're good. Evening Carl, evening Lavi, Son, Matt, good to see you. Welcome everyone tuning in as always. I thought I was going to do this periodically, but I thought, you know what, let's go live every night for this week. We have 5 days of, cars out on track with very limited viewing. And not for the want, of course, of us fans trying. There was, at some points, live timing available through unconventional means, shall we say. But when there's a will, there's a way. You can't stop. This is the thing in this day and age. You can try and control the media. You can try and control the flow of information, but that is very, very, very difficult to do in 2026. So, yeah, that is what we had today. It was very interesting to see that. If I was off work and if this was a full-time gig, then I would have jumped on and done a live stream for you all, but I was busy looking at Excel spreadsheets today. So, yes, when that was happening. But I did keep an eye on everything that was happening via, of course, the journos who are getting sources of information and those sneaking a peek from certain vantage points. But the security, which we'll get on to, were quite overzealous with the moving on of fans and journos from those vantage points, which was just is utterly ridiculous, to be honest with you. But any update on the data? Any update on the live data? We won't be able to get any live data, unfortunately. So let's talk about that firstly. There was, before we then touch on some news that came out today, of course, our first look of the McLaren car. Of course, this is just a render once again, so who knows how varied this is going to look when it hits the track tomorrow on Tuesday. But it seems that, yes, so there was going to be no cameras, no media, other than a small team from F1 themselves at the track. And there was going to be no live timing data. Hence why I didn't take any time off work to stream this week. And what happened is that at a lot of racetracks, there's live timing, localized live timing. And from my understanding is that there was a server that is used, and there is a way to tap into live timings at racetracks, particularly Barcelona. Someone was able to do this and figure this out on YouTube, JB Motorsports, I think it was. And everyone started to tune in to it. And F1 couldn't shut this down until after the lunch break. And then now there is no live data, no live timings, other than what we get at the end of the day. Control of information, don't know why. It's not like this is a super secret, super duper. I mean, I just don't get it, really. It just seems to be completely backwards and the complete opposite as to what you want F1 to do, which is to be more accessible to fans, surely. And all this is doing is deterring people away. It's giving them more bad press than it would be if any of the cars that we saw today break down. Which, bearing in mind, we only saw heard of a couple of cars stopping out on track today. Everyone seemed to get an unbelievable amount of mileage in, which we'll review shortly. So it bodes well for the reliability, which we thought would be the issue for the start of the season. That's not to say that when they properly maybe start to push the cars more that we don't start to see more gremlins. But yeah, any of the so-called bad press or concerns that they may have had from these regulations of stuff not going right out on track has been completely outweighed by the negative press and publicity that they've got from this being private and how they have handled it as well. Because, well, let's touch on it straight away, shall we? There is an individual here. This is just one of many that I have seen. Of course, the race had their own journalist there, John Noble and Ed. I can't remember his last name, Ed. They were there as well. And this is very damning, isn't it? This morning we were 200 metres from the circuit. They kicked us out and we moved to 300 metres outside the parking. They kicked us out. We set up at 600 metres and they still kicked us out too. 2 Secret Service cars, 1 Moss's pickup and a 1 Moss's van. I don't know what that is, to be honest with you. And they'd ID some poor lambs who had just arrived and warn them that if they came back, it would be a fine. Which is utterly ridiculous because, from my understanding, it's not Barcelona's, de Catalunia's land. It is public land. And it is also, here in the UK at least, the process that has to be followed is that you have to get in touch with your local authority, your council, and you have to pay quite a large amount to submit a permit and pay for the foreclosure of roads and areas and so forth. And I don't think F1 have done that. Now, not that money would be an issue for them, but this is just publicly access. This is just public access. People using long lenses and oh ho ho. Let's move people on. So ridiculous, really, absolutely ridiculous, and I don't get it. I mean, I get Bahrain, and the thing is, people will say, and we'll get onto the actual things, by the way, guys. Good to see you, Dusko. Welcome, everyone. I'm just finishing off a rant here, if you're just joining. What I don't understand is that if there is the argument that this is supposed to be a shakedown because of, and it's called a shakedown because Bahrain has they've paid for the rights to have testing the first season test every year. What I don't understand is why then is it that the first of 2 test sessions we're going to have in February, the first one is also limited as well to just 1 hour per day, which is at the end of the day. It doesn't make sense. I feel like this is very backwards, and I don't know if this has come from, I don't know if this is the FIA and F1 being so insecure and concerned about these regulations that they are massively going to foul and they're going to damage their product by showcasing this shakedown, the tests early on, and it's just going to be full of, social media is just going to be full of like memes of cars breaking down and so forth. I don't know. I would presume that is probably the case. There's an element of that, and there's also probably an element of the teams as well, bowing down to the teams, not wanting any of this to be broadcast live. The last thing that they want, yes, is also their car to be pictured breaking down. I mean, just look at, I guess, at what happened with Ferrari with their shakedown last week, where Lewis stopped to do a start, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's already broken down." The memes were flowing. So, but overall, I just think it's not good for a sport that is trying to increase the accessibility of it, especially with Bahrain. Especially with the first test in Bahrain, where it's only an hour each. But anyway, that is that. But we'll get on to the actual shakedown and what we kind of didn't see. I know that many of you would have been keeping up with the information today. You may have already seen some other live streams and listened to some other videos of what we've learned and so forth. But this is the one channel you've been waiting for, right? It's the one live stream you've been waiting for, so... But welcome, everyone. Good to see you. Evening, Camo. Good to see you. Dazan, it's good to be back. Our favourite F1 channel. Thank you, buddy. Love the Ferrari for this season. I do like it as well. Yep, it does look pretty good. No Aston till Thursday or Friday. Nope. We'll get onto that information shortly. And there was an announcement today from Aston Martin after concerns that they might not even make it this week at all, just like the Williams. So, this, though, today was revealed because McLaren and Ferrari will be at the track tomorrow. Remember, teams can only participate in the shakedown. Out of these 5 days, they can only participate in 3 of them. So those who participated today only have 2 more sessions that they can, well, 2 more days that they can attend over the rest of this week. I don't know what the run plans are for everyone, but we have McLaren tomorrow. We have Ferrari there tomorrow as well, I believe. So this is their testing livery with their full livery reveal to happen in February after this shakedown. So if you hadn't revealed your full livery before the shakedown, then you had to use a testing livery, and this is what they've come up with. Yeah, looks all right, doesn't it, really, to be honest with you? Someone has pointed out that the front nose on this render looks like a sex toy. That's what someone has said. It looks like the... Yeah. Sorry for my... anyone who's under a certain age, but yes, that's what someone said to me. Good evening. Look forward to this season, Ralph? Good to see you. But yeah, not really too much to take it into consideration here. I think what is interesting is some of the team... I mean, if this render is true, has that got the extension there? So if you look on some of the models that FIA released, they had the no, not barge boards, are they? I can't remember. The deflectors. I can't remember what they're referring to these things now. These were kind of connected via the floor and stabilized via the floor, not with this arm, which does seem to be what the teams, the top teams at least, have decided to do. Maybe for weight reasons. Would it be this colour when it is out in the McLaren? It will be this week, yes, but not the overall finish itself. Will probably be papaya again. Let's go. I think it's also because a lot of teams launch sooner and need some rubbing in. I think this is more like the 90s. I think it's good for F1, for fans, for times, for teams. I don't know. I disagree. There's a massive hype around these regs, and we want... I mean, arguably you could say there's too much F1, but sometimes, I don't know. When you think of it, you compare it to other sports, there isn't a lot of time that you see the cars out on track. So, yeah, I think considering the hype and the following and the buzz around it, I think they've kind of missed a trick in this not being... Well, this shakedown being so limited. I mean, have you seen the teams? There's actually a rule in place that the teams can only post 6 images of the car per day and 6 images of the team, the engineers, and like the garage per day as well. But they've literally limited the amount of information that can go out online. It's just, I don't know. Seems, yeah, I'm not a fan of it, to be honest with you. They do look smaller on track. They do indeed. So we will have a look at. Some. There is one bit of footage that I can show. This one here. I mean, they definitely do look smaller. This is not F1 footage. But they do definitely look smaller. There's never enough for F1. Exactly. Right, so the other news that was announced today was that Aston Martin did officially announce that they will be in Barcelona this week, but only for Thursday and Friday. They aren't going to be making it. There were rumours that they might not even be able to attend this week, similar to Williams. But yes, the AMR 26 will be there Thursday and Friday. So at least they'll get a couple of days of running, which would be massively important to them for the start of this season. Supposedly, rumours are it's coming in overweight. The Honda have had issues with the ICE as well. I think that even came directly from the head of Honda, or one of the head engineers in Honda, in a recent interview. So it hasn't been plain sailing for Aston Martin and Honda. So we will see. Of course, they are the only Honda-backed team this year with the engine. So they need to get it right. If they get it right, they have a great opportunity, especially with no one else using that engine. Is it 40 days? Is it only 40 days to Australia? Oh my goodness. 40 days till my body clock takes an absolute battering. So, this is our first look at the Red Bull today. And, well, we'll have a look at the timing screens. Not very you can really take too much consideration into the timing screens, but Isack Hadjar, his first time, well, not first time in the top team, but his first time in the 2026 car. And the first time that we got to see the actual Red Bull car, as you can see from the thumbnail as well of this video. And I think when we're talking about compact, look at how compact that image is there of that Red Bull. Now, there's a lot of talk about the side pod concept and that they've kind of maybe taken inspiration of the no side pod concept that Mercedes used in the W13 back in 2022. But they've definitely got a slimmer profile than that of Mercedes, Ferrari that we've seen thus far, McLaren with the render, anyone else out on grid, to be honest with you. And also, look at the size of the air intake. Definitely a theme in the RB cars, the Red Bull teams, eh? We've seen the RB car where it's looked like it's a very wide, squashed down air intake. Look how large that thing is. That's nearly, look, Isack Hadjar could nearly stick his head fully in that with his helmet on. Unbelievably large. So, yeah, definitely a design choice by Red Bull, trying to increase that cooling. Maybe that's with, of course, the where they've gone more compact on the side pods. They've gone for, of course, that means that the cooling there's less room for cooling. Everything has to be a bit more compact, so they've gone for a more larger air intake to offset that. Remember, there's no such thing as free gains in F1. Something somewhere has a trade-off. There's always a trade-off somewhere, but it's how can you offset that trade-off and minimize it, or negate it elsewhere. Red Bull is a surprise to me, copying Mercedes for the second time now. That air intake could suck in a stray football. I know, it's absolutely massive. So yeah, from this angle, it's difficult to kind of see the Red Bull. This image is better. I mean, you can see from this image. Open image in new tab. Here we go. So you can see from this image, which is the thumbnail. This was kind of the image. We saw everyone kind of from this angle. And you can see here how slim it is on the sides. Look at it. It's so slim. Whereas when you compare it to the other teams, those side pods do definitely come out more. And likewise, like with the Ferrari, like with the Mercedes, we've seen this open slot gap in the rear diffuser as well. So, yeah, finally the full Red Bull in action. But, yeah, good to see it. And I do like the gloss. You'd hope a tear-off doesn't hit a bullseye. Yeah, the nose looks the same as last year compared to Ferrari, whose up air intake looks the same, but nose completely different. I think these new large air intakes are for engine air and cooling. Yeah, 100% they are. 100%. And, well, this was the discussion that I've had with people as well, is that this whole compression rate, the 18-to-1 compression compared to 16-to-1. Don't ask me what exactly that is. I know it's supposed to do something with like the pistons or whatever. It's supposed to be able to obviously create some extra horsepower. But the thing is with that all sounds well and good, but you then have to, as I just said, there's no free gains in F1. There is always a trade-off. Well, if that's going to put more stress on the engine, it's great if you can get extra horsepower, but that's going to increase the heat, the energy output of that engine, which means you need more cooling, more efficient cooling. So, yeah, but I think this air intake here is definitely a choice with the side pods that they've got. But we'll see if they'll be able to make it work compared to the W13. But W13, of course, there's so many more things wrong with that. I didn't know that, Dusko, no. But a very good looking car. These cars overall do look very, very good. Let's have... So these are the times of today. So the times themselves aren't really something to pay too much attention to. But what is to pay attention to, and I think is super impressive, it's just the amount of mileage everyone was able to get in today. Now, if we start at the bottom, Gabriel Bortoleto and the Audi clearly didn't do a lot of laps today. Only 27 laps overall. Not great from Gabriel Bortoleto. Did have a stoppage out on track earlier. Of course, Albi, one of the new arrivals here this year. So, yeah, not a good first day for them, but it's a shakedown. That's what it's all about. It's about finding those gremlins and figuring them out. But 27 laps is still not overall a good start, is it, to be honest with you? Sergio Perez did 11 laps and Valtteri Bottas did 33. So similar to Audi. There were no breakdowns today for Cadillac, but not a lot of laps for either of those two, really, with Bottas getting more than Sergio. And then, I mean, you look at the top there, I mean, Racing Bulls, 88 laps. Ocon, 154 laps. Bearing in mind, Lawson got 88 laps in, and he had a breakdown at one point as well. He had a stoppage out on track. Ocon, 154 laps. Ferrari engine, by the way, guys. If you're worried about maybe the reliability of the Ferrari engine, Esteban Ocon in that Haas Ferrari-backed engine. The Ferrari engine, the only engine today not to have a stoppage out on track. Because Alpine, with Franco Colapinto, did 60 laps, did have a stoppage in the morning session. We in the Mercedes, Liam Lawson in the RB, so that's the Ford Racing Red Bull powertrain. And then Audi, of course, with their own powertrain as well. But George Russell, 93 laps. Kimi Antonelli, 56 laps. Isaac Hadjar, 107 laps on his own. So, I mean, barring a few stoppages out on track, the reliability issues just don't seem to be there. At least from the initial outset. Now, as we said, don't know if anyone pushed it all today. We don't know whether they turned the engines up. And, you know, there's so many things that are going to be checking. So the lap times you can't really pay too much attention to. We do expect these cars to be slower than the ground effect era. I 100% expect them to. Yes, they'll be quicker in a straight line because of the active aero, but overall they're going to be slower in the corners. These cars are designed to have less downforce than the ground effect era, and that's what we want. It should theoretically provide better racing. So I don't mind cars that are slightly slower. Oh well, as long as it provides good racing at the end of the day. What was last year's time? Last year's time was like a one... I think they're like 4 seconds off already, 5 seconds off. I think it was like a 112 or something. Like, I think pole position here last year was a 111, something like that. So yeah, they're miles off the pace, miles off. But they're not going to push it to its limits on the first day. So that's always the case with testing. And also, another thing to take into consideration, it's bone cold out in Barcelona at the moment. It's not a summer's day. It's not a nice, perfect track condition. It is around 10 degrees, 9 degrees. There is rain, I think, forecast for tomorrow as well. So even like combined with that, you're not going to get anywhere near the times of last year and some years before that as well. So all sighters to start with, exactly. But that's super impressive. I mean, it just shows how technology has massively improved and these teams have massively got more efficient. Because I think if this was like 20 years ago, definitely 20 years ago, like 2007, 2008, you would have seen, with this dramatic of a regulation change, you would have seen so many more breakdowns. And even then, the breakdowns that we saw were only minor issues. So, do we know if they have a full range of new tyres, or is it last year's? I believe, prove me if I'm wrong here, guys, or correct me if I'm wrong. I did see somewhere that maybe they maintain the tyres. The tyres have also got smaller this year, correct? They've reduced in size as well. And Pirelli are always updating kind of their compounds and the construction of their tyres to reflect the amount of energy that is required through those tyres. So partly one of the issues that we had with Pirelli and the ground effect era, and this is why I have my criticisms of Pirelli, but I do also understand that they're in a difficult place, is that, hey Taco, is that they had to construct a tyre over the last 4 years. They had to construct tyres that would be able to cope with the most amount of energy that an F1 car has ever been able to output. So the last thing that they wanted is for the heaviest, largest F1 cars in history and the fastest F1 cars in history to have a tyre that wouldn't be capable of, like, basically just wouldn't be capable of taking that energy. So that's why there were sometimes some conservative decisions on the compounds and the overall construction of the tyre. They got better as the years kind of went on. We had a few good races last year where the tyres did degrade and they got it right, but more often than not, they didn't get it right. But hopefully with that not necessarily that necessary requirement to take that energy, because these cars aren't going to take output that than that of their predecessors, we should, fingers crossed, get tyres that do degrade more. Pirelli can be a bit more bolder with their compound selections, and we know how important tyres are to a decent race, and we get varying strategies, tyres that, yes, do degrade, and we get much more interesting races this year with varying strategies, because that does make we need that for races to be enjoyable and exciting. No worries, Steve-O. Good to see you, mate. History is telling us that history is showing us probability tells us that one team will dominate. One team will get these rules best, right? Look, yeah, history does tell us that, but I really hope that isn't the case. I think, look, in an ideal world, we have 3 teams battling it out, because I don't think we've ever really had more than 3 teams realistically at any one point fighting for a championship. But let's say Mercedes, that engine does become dominant, right? I think what you've got with Mercedes is that, yes, if Mercedes have a return to form, primarily due to their engine, we are fortunate that at least they're not supplying their engine just to 2 midfield teams. They are providing it to McLaren as well. And I think McLaren haven't been spoken enough about, really, when it comes to the championship this year. Yes, they won back-to-back constructors in a completely different regulation set, and Lando Norris is the current world champion. But, I mean, they have recruited. It's no surprise to me that they came and they dominated. Didn't dominate, but how they were able to come to the forefront of the last regulation set, because they have recruited very well over the past five years. And there's always that lag with gardening leave and so forth, with that influence of those individuals joining and then that showing out on track. And McLaren have been able to maintain those as well. What you've seen is that McLaren haven't really lost many important individuals, apart from the supposed new engineer of Lewis Hamilton, who will be joining in the summer. Grosjean, I think his name is. Like, McLaren are happy to go under the radar right now. Like, it's wild, and I have a lot of faith that they will. Let's say Mercedes, yes, do that engine. They are the dominant package, right? Or the Mercedes engine is the dominant engine. Well, at least then we do have Mercedes versus McLaren, I believe, because I do think McLaren are going to be pretty on it when it comes to their aero package. Hey, Fang, good to see you. It is weird that they have not been talked about, Taco. Tony, Norris was lucky to eke out a championship last year. I don't think McLaren will be as dominant with all the rule changes there. No, and I hope no one is dominant, to be honest with you. That's what I want. I want a competitive championship. A minimum 2 drivers, of course, because then that would be competitive. But yeah, we want this regulation set to start off so much more competitive. Because, look, it is a shame. I know if you're a Max Verstappen fan, it's not a shame, but it is a shame that in the last set of regulations that Max was so good. If you get me. It is a shame Max was so good in the last regulation set, because if you remove Max and take him away from the championship in 22 and 23, those championships which he dominated broke the all-time win records in seasons. The championship behind him would have been like, we would have been looking back on that as 2 of the all-time, I mean, people obviously still do with the achievements that Max was able to do, but in relation to the competitiveness, we would have looked back on those 2 seasons as 2 of the most competitive seasons we have ever seen in F1. But Max was so dominant, Red Bull was so dominant in that package that, yeah, that wasn't what came to be. And I hope that no one dominates in the upcoming next couple of years. So I'm hoping for a four-way battle. That would be amazing. I mean, I don't care who it is, to be honest with you. I really don't. I mean, I'm a fan of F1, and I want it to be entertaining from a racing perspective. So yeah, those were the lap times today. 1:18.159, quickest by Isaac Hadjar. Pardon me. George Russell half a second back. Franco Colapinto further 2 seconds back. Perez, Bottas, Bortoleto, obviously very far off the pace there. 6.5 seconds, 7 seconds. Not a lot of running for Gabriel Bortoleto or Bottas and Perez. But you have to remember as well is that they're just doing systems checks. They're probably doing some high fuel runs. I mean, this is arguably, other than the mini shakedown that they had at Silverstone and Audi at this track not too long ago, they haven't had opportunities to get these cars actually out into the real world and onto the tarmac. And so they would have had, no doubt, a number amount of checklists that they wanted to tick off. But for Cadillac and for Bortoleto, they no doubt would have wanted to have done more laps, I think, especially Audi. 27 laps is a bit like, not the best start, but we'll see. There we go. I know I'm still young, but the 2026 Ferrari livery colours look somewhat similar to the Gilles Villeneuve Ferrari F1 car in 1978. Yeah, I said it looks like my first instinct was that they went to the Lauda-inspired car. The 318? Is it the 318? Is it the 318 in the 70s? Like, I like the livery, to be honest with you. FIA dropping the ball with secrecy. Drop some debrief videos at least. Yeah, so we're going to have a look at what some of the drivers have said. Now, I mentioned yesterday that there are a few journalists that you want, and a few accounts that are very reputable with their information. They're reputable journalists. They've been around the paddock for quite some time. They have their own sources, and they're people that you want to listen to. And one of those is Adam Cooper. If you don't follow him, he is a freelance F1 journalist. First F1 race was back in 1985, and he's attended every GP since Japan 1994. 2025 was his 600th. Oh my God. Adam, is he married? Because surely the missus doesn't let you get away with that. Surely. Whew. So that is a lot of F1. That is a lot of F1. So he has reported a few things today, and he is definitely someone that you want to follow, just like Chris Medland as well, Joe Saywood. But he's I don't know where he's grabbed these from, but he's been able to grab some, basically grab the transcripts of the interviews from the drivers today, which I thought we'd read through and just see what they're saying, because the drivers, of course, it's going to be a very unique driving experience for them with the management and the active aero and so forth. A lot more for these drivers to get used to, not just with how these cars drive from an aero perspective and downforce perspective, but also just how the recovery system works. 2006 was V8 from V10, and that was a good season. But anyway, I hope we get at least a teammate battle like Hamilton, Rosberg. If for all changes, put one team in front. Yeah, I mean that's the bare minimum that you want, isn't it? Is if one team does dominate, that at least those two teammates are able to fight it out. So I mean that's kind of like last year as well. I mean obviously Max got back into it, but I mean even then, Papyrus tried to get in the way of it. Any iRacing streams on the Horizon, JB? No, not unfortunately. I since having my daughter, it's been difficult to kind of fit in time. I'm obviously a lot more tired now, working my day job as well. I've taken a step up in responsibility of my day job and that, so I'm a lot more tired in the evenings now. And yeah, kind of the last thing that I want to do is hop on and stream for a couple of hours with the racing. This I don't mind doing because it's a bit more casual, and talking is what I do best. But yeah, maybe in the future, but not right now, unfortunately. Priorities change when kids come along. If Red Bull intake is so much bigger than others, then could that make the difference? It could, if the side pod concept and their overall concept works, yes. We'll have to see. But yeah, I mean that they are the only team really that has gone with such a large air intake. I mean, if you look at the Cadillac here, with their testing livery. This patch here, you may be wondering what this is. This is the names of every single individual in the team. So back at the factory and everyone. That is what that white strip on the nose looks there. But yeah, you can see the air intake there. You can see that obviously the side pods there with the undercut. So, but Cadillac. So let's see, shall we, what Bottas said about the Cadillac. So, on his track debut in the Cadillac, I really enjoyed getting back on track. This was the first time I drove this car, so it's just good to be out there. Obviously, performance-wise, I wouldn't say much yet. The main thing is we've got some running done. At the end, we got a little bit longer running, so these are the first steps of debugging and getting everything to work better. We had some issues throughout the day. Like I said, it's debugging. That's why we're here, and it seems like every team has some issues. It's just now really figuring out those and then getting more and more running each day. But like I said, it's just great to be here and in the car. Yeah, there you go. Cadillac wanting to figure out those gremlins, and it seems like they definitely had some gremlins today because they didn't have a lot of running overall. So pretty bog standard from Valtteri Bottas getting his first attempt in the car, because I think Perez did the shakedown in Silverstone, so only ever done running in on this car in the sim. So Leclerc Hamilton would be crazy. Yeah, there's a few battles that we'd like to see, of course. Gabriel Bortoleto. So he was in the Audi today and only did, how many laps did he do again? 27 laps, Gabriel Bortoleto, and he had a stoppage in the morning session as well. So he said, it was good to be back on track today and properly get to know the R26. We managed to get some mileage in during the morning, test a few things and start understanding the car, the power unit and the way the new regulations work. As expected for a shakedown, we ran into a couple of issues that limited our running, but that's part of the process and exactly why we're here. We've already learned a lot from the laps we did, and now focus is on addressing the issues so we can get back in the car in the next days and get more clean running and more laps on board. So no real insight there from Bottas or Gabriel Bortoleto. What I'm intrigued to hear is the insight from the drivers of how these cars feel to them. The management system, the battery system, the active aero. That's what I want from these interviews here. I'm not sure if we're going to get that in this first day, but we'll see. But pretty box down replies there from Bottas in the Cadillac and Bortoleto. But yeah, they'll be expecting to get more laps in over the next coming days for sure. So, Kimi Antonelli. So, what did he achieve today? So, Kimi Antonelli was able to achieve 56 laps, almost 2.5 seconds off of George Russell. I think Kimi did the morning session, didn't he, as well? I think Kimi did the morning session. So 56 laps overall, George Russell and Kimi, they did over 140 laps. Is it 149 laps? Is that right? If my maths is correct there, that they did. So, yeah, massive amount of laps that they did. Every year, the hype is bigger than the actual first race. Well, yeah, I mean, Australia is great and all, but... And it's kind of tradition to get up early to watch Australia, but it's never really provided a banger, has it? Especially at Melbourne Park. But we'll see. Maybe with the active aero and this whole new attack mode and overtake mode and stuff will allow more overtaking at circuits which we haven't necessarily seen a lot at in the past. Kimi Antonelli on his Mercedes. It still will take a bit of time to try all the modes, overtake, override, all that kind of stuff. It's different, but the car is nice. It's very nice to drive, and obviously on the PU side, it's a bit different compared to what we had last year. It requires a bit more management, but it's all doable. I have to say the team on the PU side did a really good job, and drivability, which was a big question mark, seems to be good so far. So yeah, obviously when... the drivability of these cars, there were lots of concerns when they were inputting the data into the sims, and they were worried that, I mean, there was at one point they said the teams felt the cars were like lifting down the straights, which was bizarre. But thankfully, these cars look, I think they look great. I mean, I think they really do. I do like the fact of it, like the rear just seems to be more upright, like the rear of the car and the front wing. They just look like racing cars. Don't they? So Bahrain has been a way better season starter. Yes, I think I don't know when it will go back to being the start. Of course, it is postponed as being the starting race of the season because of Ramadan. I don't know when Ramadan eventually falls outside of that, you know. So they look so tiny. I know. Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, that means there's more racing room out on track. That's what it should be. Something that very is interesting is these lights. There's actual lights on the wing mirrors. I don't know if you've noticed this, guys. So I saw this on the Cadillac when it was leaving the pit box, and they were flashing yellow. Now, I don't know if there's... I mean, are these supposed to be... I presume they're supposed to be on maybe when it's raining? When it's raining, there's... Like, when people look in their rearview mirrors, there's a much better visibility for people. They're extra rain lights. Ah, there we go. There we go. That makes total sense. That does make total sense, you know. It makes you wonder... It does make you wonder why that's taken such a long time for that to be introduced into F1. Like, I am all for that, you know? I really am all for that. I mean, the visibility in these should be so much better now because they're not as large. While I was quite critical of a lot of the drivers over the ground effect era of, like, turning into corners with while cars were there, I have to give them some leeway because these cars had the largest blind spots that they've ever had in F1 history. And to a certain extent, I guess that's why the racing guidelines were what they were, because the cars were so big. And that was kind of the cars, to be warranted kind of racing room, you had to be sufficiently alongside, because that was it would take you to have your front wheels alongside the cockpit of the car ahead to really kind of know they were there because of how large they were. But these cars, they definitely just look so much more tighter, don't they? More compact, and it looks like you shouldn't have that issue with the blind spots and the visibility anymore. There's always going to be some lack of visibility, and your peripheral vision is going to be limited somewhat. But I like that addition. I really do like that. It's one of those that makes you think, why is it taking so long? Like, F1's been ahead of the game for quite some time. Why has it taken so long for just some LED lights to be added onto the wing mirrors, just to aid with visibility when you're looking in your rearview mirrors? So, get more use than the wet tyres last season. Well, we should see more wet racing this year because of the localised spray. There's always going to be spray. You can't eliminate spray entirely, but you can reduce the level of spray, and that's what these cars have definitely done with how they've been constructed, and with no ground effect era and the size of them. So but yeah, that was I think it looks really good, that car. Could we see it's got a real different kind of side pod, doesn't it, compared to what we saw in the renders. So that was Kimi Antonelli. Franco Colapinto, we'll have a look at what he says in a second. Is there anything you would like to have seen integrated into the 2026 car? It's difficult for me to say, to be honest with you, because I'm not an engineer. I have a very kind of limited knowledge when it comes to the tech side of things. I guess the usual thing would be they could have gone even smaller. I would like to have seen them make the cars even smaller than what they currently are. That's really about it, I think. Yeah, I think they look great. I really do. And it is really noticeable. They're only 20 meters... 20 meters? They're 20 centimeters shorter. And they're 10 centimeters narrower. So... But it's amazing how we've just, like, the design of the car with the front wing. So you can see here on this. So the front wings now... Like, of course you've got the M plates here. But even the M plates don't extend beyond the tyre. Last year, with the ground effect era cars, the M plates would stick right on the edge, they'd be directly in line with the outer wall of the tyre carcass. Whereas now they're inward of it. So we shouldn't see the front wing end plates be lost. There still will be some, of course, but it's a lot more tighter at the front, more compact at the front, and that really does make it look smaller. Of course, the tyres are slightly smaller as well this year compared to last year. Is it 16 to 13 inch? Is that right? Is it 16 to 13 or was it 19 to 16? I can't remember the reduction in the tyre size, but yeah, I mean, it's amazing how that those small margins, though, can make such a big difference in relation to how they look out on track. Ferrari never beat Mercedes in an open F1 fight. That would be cool to see. Why can't they put screens in the wing instead of a glass like some road cars and lorries? I don't know. I don't know, to be honest, because that means more cameras on the car. It means more weight. So if those cameras get... I mean, it's the same with the wing mirrors, but if the cameras get covered, of course, everything comes out of the back of an F1 car. If those cameras get covered in dirt and so forth and grime, then you're not going to have visibility in those wing mirrors, are you? So, but yeah, they do look a lot better. With Adrian Newey being team principal now, will he still be designing the chassis? I'm not sure if it's a good idea to have him take on the team principal role, as it may take too much focus away from them. It's a fair question. It is a fair question, and one that many have raised with him going up to team principal. I imagine he will. It just means that he might not have... Similar to what he did at Red Bull, to be honest with you, he kind of took a step away from being lead designer and actually designing the concepts, but he would, almost like a consultant-based role, he would look at the design packages and he would point them in the right direction. And I think that's what he's going to do as team principal with Aston Martin. Like, you'd be silly not to utilise his expertise, you know? And he will have involvement in the design process and he will point them in the right direction. It's like, okay, you do that and you go off and create it off of that like concept that I've set out for you all. But we'll see. Do I think they'll let Piastri win this year, or does Lando have another win left in his contract? Ooh, conspiracy. I mean, if you listen to Andrea Stella, he says Papaya rules are still going to be a thing in 2026. So, yeah. I mean, look, Piastri should have won the championship last year. We're not going to go over all ground, but he should have won the championship last year. It was in his control. And he kind of only really has himself to blame in that regard. But, yeah, I'm sure there'll be more conspiracy. What conspiracy theories are going to come out of this season, I wonder. Right, Franco Colapinto on his A526. At the end of the day, it's still a race car, and you need to drive it quickly within the grip, and that is available. And that's very similar, but the technique is changing a little bit. Aha. The energy management, the tyres are much thinner, smaller, and there are many changes that, of course, we need to adapt to and adjust at driving as well. Things that we learned in the past, when teams make a new car, the philosophy changes slightly compared to the previous one, and the way that we work with the setup, and we have many things to learn and to understand. So he touches on it a little bit, not too much information there on the overall new driving requirements of these cars. Someone's going to let slip at some point what is absolutely necessarily required to drive these cars quick, or with the energy management system and so forth. But yeah, it's been discussed with these cars that there's the drivers, in particular the rookie drivers like Arvid Lindblad, Hadjar and so forth. They haven't got all of this information in their heads, all this experience with the ground effect era cars and stuff to kind of taint them with these new cars. They can come in, they're fresh. They only have one season under their belt, or Arvid Lindblad only has 0 seasons under his belt, and he's coming in and it's a level playing field for him, or maybe even has an advantage because these cars are so different and the management system is so different to what they've experienced before. So have I read your book, Dusko? I've read some of it, yes. I haven't read all of it, though, I will admit. Haas! 154 laps. 154 laps for Esteban Ocon today. You heard that correctly. In the Haas. Ferrari power unit in the back of that Haas. What a banging livery as well. I do like this livery. I mean, the side profile with this car is amazing. Esteban Ocon on his Haas car today. It's very different, very complicated. I got lucky to be able to do a lot of simulated days before we started the year. So we're pretty well set on that. Everything is clear, but yes, it's very complicated for all of us. But I hope the same, it'll be the same for everyone, because if it is, we're in the same boat. So we'll see. The aim is really to learn to get mileage under the car. You definitely did that today, buddy. See the weak points, what we have to improve, really feel first feel of things, so we are sure we take the right development path, and we are sure we put the resources where it matters most, where it's the most bothering us. So we'll try and put all of that together for us at the end of the test. So, yeah, that is Esteban Ocon. And interestingly, Esteban Ocon is the driver this week. He is one of those drivers who did lay out kind of, I say concerns, but he did say, where is it? Let me see if I can find the article. It was on the race about how these cars, here we go, an extreme claim about F1's 2026 driving style reset. So Ocon stated before the test, the biggest changes from the engine side, and that's going to be the key for most of us. It's an exciting challenge, and it's a different way of driving compared to before. I think we can forget everything that we've learned since go-karts on how to go fast, but it'll be interesting to learn a new driving style and hopefully find speed with it. It's a very particular way of driving the car. There's going to be a lot more management on the engine side and on the hybrid side. The car itself felt pretty good. The balance was decent, although, of course, it was our first taste in the simulator, so we need to see how it is in reality. So he says, and Lewis Hamilton said here as well, this is the period of time where you have to learn to be the most efficient driver that you've ever been. And that's utilising all the tools you have in your armoury as a driver to save fuel, to recharge power, utilise the power, use the grip, and put all of these things together. It's going to take a lot of work from the engineers to communicate and help the drivers to be able to extract everything and its full potential. Well, you better get that damn engineer appointment correct then, Lewis and Ferrari, because if your engineer is going to be important this year and the communication, then you want to make sure that you definitely get that right. 150 laps of Barcelona is insane just from a fitness POV. I know, right? Haas car does look good. Can't believe how many laps Ocon did. That bodes very well. But of course, it's not just Haas anymore, is it? It's Haas TGR. Haas Toyota. So Toyota coming back into the fold and having a more influential role in that. But interesting comments there from both Lewis and from Esteban Ocon. There are concerns, understandably, about how the driving is going to be. How is the racing product going to be when it comes to an actual race? Is it going to be... Are we going to see arbitrary overtakes? Is it going to be like just people overtaking each other? Kind of is it going to be too many overtakes where it doesn't really matter, where you've got teams just looking to recover the battery mode down the start-finish straight, and you've just got this changing of position each lap, and there's not really any jeopardy and defensive moves? And is it all going to be about management? That's obviously still out there, and we won't know until after the first kind of probably 5-6 races. But I'm up for a change, and I think I'm positive. As I said before in previous streams, I'm positive about these changes, and I think it's going to be good. And I think we're going to see definitely the driver play more of a role. I mean, people always say, "Oh, why can't they just create cars that just puts the driver at the forefront?" Well, I think these rules, to an extent, are going to do that. If the driver is incapable of managing these systems as well as the tyres as well, how are they... Like, if they don't get on top of that, then they're going to be at such a detriment. They can be in a very quick car, but if others are better at utilising that recovery, the energy, that using the active aero, and obviously the management of the tyres is something that is still being overlooked about, you're going to be head and shoulders above the rest. And those who are able to get on top of those changes and those requirements quicker than everyone else will be able to probably offset, to some extent, of course, because you are still limited to the machinery underneath you, but are going to be able to offset kind of maybe a pace differential with their ability of managing these new systems in these cars. So I think from that perspective, it's going to be interesting. The last laps will be interesting. Definitely, yeah. So, moving up, Liam Lawson on the Visa Cash app. Look at that air intake. Woo-wee! The funky air intake, isn't it? This is one of the best looking cars, though. I wasn't so keen on the livery reveal at first, but then when I've seen the actual car out on track, I do like this car. I do like it. So many buttons on the steering wheel to get used to all the technology available. I know. Have the F1 drivers been chatting to Formula E drivers? Well, this is it. This is it, Els. But there is also an over importance being put on the Formula E drivers as well, because when it comes to Formula E, you start with 100% battery, and then it's always working its way down to 0% towards the end of the race. So it isn't a case of that you're looking to restore battery and recover it. Yes, obviously there is, like, obviously to try and make it last a long game, and there will probably be some benefit to speaking to an Formula E driver, but I think it could be very, very different with the F1 system. And to some extent, these drivers will be aware of how to... I mean, they won't be completely new to recovery systems and so forth, because they've driven these cars, they've driven the hybrid era cars, they've driven the cars that, yes, while it may have been just a switch and a toggle, they'd go into recovery mode, and that's when you would see the D rate. So you'd see the flashing light on the rear of the car to let the driver behind know that they were in recovery mode, and they'd be going slower into certain corners and down straights. They will be familiar with that, except this is now a bit more it's now more manual than it is kind of a preset. That's my understanding. I don't think it's like the previous years where you could just set presets. They would have a number of presets where that they could designate before the race began. But if they wanted it to preset 1, it would deploy down the start-finish straight and then only start recovering in like the second sector, and then they'd be able to. Then they'd have a second one which would deploy it not so far down the straight and recover earlier and so forth. There's so many different presets that they could have had. I don't think that's an option this time around. I think everything is manual. Everything is recovered manually via the driver's decisions. I think Toyota will buy Haas and use Ferrari engines instead of their own this time. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, they're definitely on their way back into the sport full time, aren't they? Definitely. It's Haas TGR at the moment, so they're basically in the name. They were just a technical partner, and they weren't even in the name. But I think Haas will be sold. Yeah. So, Liam Lawson on his Visa Cash App today. It's very interesting at this point. Obviously, new cars, new power units, and very, very different to drive. So for us, just adjusting at the moment, but so far, we're all good. We did a good amount of laps today. Obviously, we learned a lot. We had a few little things along the way, which are expected on day one. But yeah, I think in a decent place. They're very, very different. He's reiterated that a couple... already. Second time he's reiterated that, and I definitely haven't got my head around it fully yet. It's something that we'll be learning, we'll keep learning over the next few days and weeks when we go to Bahrain as well. But yeah, it's very, very different. That's the third time he said it's very, very different. It feels like there's a lot more we could do as drivers potentially to make a difference, which is good. But right now, it's very early days. So a bit more openness there, I think, from Liam Lawson. Clearly reiterating that these cars are very, very different. And he had a slight stoppage in the morning session. He's still got 88 laps in, so that's still a fair decent amount of laps. I mean, yeah, so that's still pretty good, isn't it, from the V-Carb, to be fair. God, the RB and the V-Carb is beautiful. Yeah, they definitely look... I think they look better. They look 100% better out on track, don't they, than they did in the renders. I think the renders actually and the show cars didn't do them justice. I mean, well, the renders actually on the Red Bull car did look very good, but the V-Carb, I was a bit like, oh, really? And then I saw it lapping at Imola, and I was like, oh my God, I'm in love. And it's still not a better livery than last year's one, because they've got rid of the little Red Bulls on the end. So now we have the Alpine team boss. So I imagine this is going to be very transparent, isn't it? Let's see what he's got to say. In the end, from Steve Nielsen, in the end, it was a typical first day of a test session. Going through various programs and systems checks, we experienced a few minor issues that set us back, but are to be expected with a completely new car. At these events, the task is primarily about learning and understanding, rather than rushing too much too soon. So today has largely been a thought-out decision to limit some of the running at times in order to ensure our systems and processes are running correctly. We have 2 more days in the car for the week, which we'll decide based off a number of factors, including weather and the conditions, where we will aim to maximise our track time and continue to learn more about the entire package. Yep, all systems check, isn't it, for them? Andrew Shovlin, Trackside Engineering Director. We are happy with how today went overall. The main thing we are looking for in the early running of any new car is to make sure we get plenty of laps in. That enables us to get into the learning of our program subsequent days. Today was all about understanding the car. Yep, usual spill. Isaac Hadjar now did the most single amount of laps of anyone. 107 laps at the fastest lap time today a 118.159. So the only real thing that 118.159 is relevant to, guys, is for the times this week. It's the benchmark for this week. That's it. There's no point comparing really these cars to last year's cars or any cars that have come before them. They're very unique in their own right, and you just need to compare that lap time for this week. That's the benchmark, and we'll see if that will be improved upon or whether it will be the best time that we see all week. Hey, Alan, good to see you, mate. Good to see you. Welcome back. Welcome back. Isaac Hadjar, yes, fastest time today and the most amount of laps by a single driver. Pretty productive. Surprisingly, we managed to do a lot more laps than we expected. Everything went pretty smooth. We had only minor issues, so it's quite impressive. Considering it's our first day with our own engine, it was definitely smooth. It's definitely a lot less load in general. It's a bit more predictable compared to the previous generation of cars. That's intriguing. They are more simple, it's easier to play around with them, and also on the PU side, there's a lot more options for the driver to play with. I already started to work on it today, so that's very interesting. Okay. I find that comment quite interesting. It's a bit more predictable compared to the previous generation of cars. Interesting, because I thought these cars might be a little bit less predictable because of not as much downforce, not as much stability. So that's an interesting comment from Isaac. That just shows how well his day went today. His first time in this car out on track. So definitely a lot less load. That'll be sure. That'll be definite, because these cars they don't have the cornering ability of what the ground force era cars had. Obviously last year. I mean, they broke so many lap times, didn't they? Last year, lap records. So yeah, there's not going to be as much stress on the body, but there'll be obviously different elements to contend with. But yeah, it's more predictable compared to the previous generation of cars. That's a real interesting comment. That is real interesting. But then that also maybe because of the tyres and so forth, smaller tyres now, but that's a positive comment from Isaac Hadjar. Sounds like he had a lot of fun today. It's easier to play around with them. They're more simple, and also on the PU side, there's a lot of options. So, yeah, he doesn't seem too stressed about everything else that needs to be done with these cars. So, good comment from him there. Rain is expected in Barcelona tomorrow, and Wednesday and Thursday. Oh my goodness! Could impact the 3 days of testing. Or 3 or 5 days of testing. Jonathan Whitley says, I think it's interesting because talk about the run plan and all the teams are facing the same decision. Firstly, have you got the right spare parts to be able to support running? Then what's the weather condition like? I've been talking to other team principals. Nobody wants to let the cat out of the bag. I don't either, but it's been very interesting that you have this strategy to make every day about when you run. Interesting. I mean, that's probably the best thing. That's probably what Williams are doing right now is their rain dance, right? They're probably doing their rain dance, hoping it tips it down so that the teams get limited amount of running this week. Because they're not turning up. Aston Martin turning up only for Thursday and Friday. But yeah, if the weather is going to be wet, it'd be interesting to see the overall spray. Of course, cars going a bit quicker than what they did in their first initial shakedowns where they did their filming days. But yeah, that could definitely hamper McLaren, who are yet to go out there. They'll be out tomorrow. But I think Isaac Hadjar's comments, he's the one who's let us into a little bit more information there than the other drivers, for sure. Positive day for him. Quickest, did the most amount of laps by a single driver, and he thinks the cars are more predictable than the previous generation of cars. They're more simple. I didn't think I'd hear that comment. They're more simple. So, yeah. Has he tweeted anything else, Adam Cooper, recently since that? No, he hasn't. So that is it. Those are the lap times. Let me see if there's anything else that has come out of today. Anything of relevance. Oh, so apparently, by the way, the teams are the ones who have decided. This is the FIA's reasoning as to why everything is banned, by the way. Commercial rights holder F1 and the governing body of FIA have been planning to double the amount of testing from the 1 3-day test that was held in 2025. So that's why we've got 2 tests at Bahrain. But the teams decided they needed more time. So they banded together, booked Barcelona, and have forbidden access to... Oh, this isn't actually written by the FIA, but this is where it's been reported. I think this looks like it's from the BBC, actually. They banded together, booked Barcelona, and have forbidden access to all independent media, ensuring their privacy. That way, the teams control the message as well as they can. F1 will have a small television crew on hand to do a limited amount of interviews, and the teams will release approved information. Doubtless, there will be people trying to peek in from the outside, which they try to do, but there will be no prying eyes inside the circuit. Whether this was necessary is a matter of opinion. In 2014, the last time the engine rules changed, all testing was public, but it was the problems that some encountered that year. Red Bull and Renault were able to do only very limited mileage because of poor reliability. That informed this decision. So it's the teams who have led this decision. Well, I'm sorry, but screw you. Screw you. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And as well, they've also wormed their way into the F1 and FIA's plans by reducing the coverage time of the first test in Bahrain in a few weeks' time as well, to only 1 hour per day at the end of the day, which is really frustrating. So, yeah, it seems to be that it was the team's decisions to do that, which, yeah, is a shame, isn't it? It's a real shame. So, big L. Yeah, exactly. Big L. L's in the chat, guys. L's in the chat. Just trying to see what else. What else is it? My whole Twitter today, I translated a few Spanish tweets, and now my whole algorithm is full of Spanish tweets. So I'm just trying to see if there's anything else of relevance, but I think that's pretty much it for today. I mean, I'm not going to go in and I'd love to show you some more footage. I'd love to show you some footage that F1 actually posted and Sky Sports. Well, it's Sky Sports footage, basically. F1 footage, basically. But we're not able to show that for you for copyright reasons. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else. I think that's pretty much it. For discussion today. McLaren will be there tomorrow. So the lap record in Barcelona is 1:11.5 in 2025. Race lap record is 1:15 something. These times are pretty slow, I've got to say. With the new rules, give us the new lap records. No, we're not going to get new lap records. And I don't need new lap records. I don't need this ego trip of these cars having to be like quicker and quicker every single year, because that doesn't equate to good racing. It doesn't. And there's a limit, of course, on what the human body can deal with as well, even though drivers have got fitter as the years have gone on, of course, with the advancements of sports science and so forth and nutrition. But I don't need that. I want to see good racing. I would much prefer to see the cars go 3-4 seconds a lap slower than their predecessors. Yet we get wheel-to-wheel battling, we get defensive driving, we get potential overtakes and so forth, intrigue with tyre strategies. Like, that's what I watch F1 for, not for seeing a car go round in a certain lap time. Like, I don't really care about that, to be honest with you, because cars look quick on TV no matter how quick they are, whether they're 10 miles an hour down into the first corner, 10 miles an hour quicker down into the first corner, or 10 miles an hour slower when they get down into the first corner. If you actually watch as well, I task anyone to go and look at 2007, 2008, 2009. Go look at those cars. Go look at the footage. Those cars look quicker than I think the cars that we've just seen from the ground effect era on TV, because they're smaller, they're more nimble, and they dart around the place, and that looks quicker to me than seeing these big bulky cars that we've had in the past, but were the quickest in F1 history. So yeah, make them smaller, make them a little bit slower, reduce the amount of dirty air that is produced. By making them slightly slower as well, you'll reduce the amount of dirty air that is displaced by them. And there you go. There you go. So, how is Williams? Thank you for the $4.99 fame. How is Williams not ready since they've been working on the 2026 car since 2023? Meanwhile, Caddy is up and running fresh out the incubator. That is the question on everyone's lips right now. That is the question on everyone's lips. There are varying reports Some have said that they've failed a crash test. I've seen recently some have said that they've failed multiple crash tests. The latest one is that they're considerably overweight, 20 to 30 kilos, which is massive, if that is the case. I had heard from a source, second-hand source, but a family member of someone I'm close. I say close is a mate. A family member works at Mercedes, and he said, we've heard Williams are struggling with their aero package. That's all we said. We heard they're struggling with their aero. Make of that what you will. I've also heard another rumour that they, from another source, that back in November, their engines were delivered late, or they were still waiting for their engines to come through, which would have delayed, of course, the overall development in itself. So, I don't know. I'm sure the truth will out at some point, but we will see. It's not, whatever it is, it's a shame for them, isn't it? And it's not a good start to these new regs, because they're missing out on all important testing this week. All important stress testing that they're now going to have to do at Bahrain. They're now going to have to go to Bahrain and do what these teams have already achieved or set out to achieve, and no doubt will achieve this week, which is doing those systems checks, stressing the parts, and these teams will be ahead in their performance runs, testing out setups, testing out different specs and so forth come Bahrain, the 2 Bahrain sessions, whereas Williams will have to rush it to an extent, or they'll do that, what the teams are doing now here at Barcelona, and they will just only get the 3 days tested in the second week of Bahrain. So it's not a good start for them, but it's not something that they can't overcome. But what will be difficult for them to overcome is that the concerning rumour, the most concerning rumour, if you're a Williams fan, is the overweight issue. That is something, regardless of whether they've failed crash tests or they've not been able to get here this week because delayed parts or whatever. The concerning thing is the kilogram issue, is how many kilograms they're over. I've said it before on this channel, in many other streams, that on average, every 10 kilograms of fuel across F1 cars, every 10 kilograms added to the car, and that can be fuel, that can be whatever, any form of weight, 10 kilograms, equates to 0.3 of a second of lap time. So if they're 30 kilograms overweight, and there's teams here that have met the minimum weight limit, and they're 30 kilograms heavier than everyone else, then that's nearly a full second slower just on weight alone. But they're going to be off of the pace of everyone else. Like, that's really bad. That's really bad. But all rumours. They're all rumours at the moment. No one... that Williams, fair play to them. It seems like they've been able to keep this issue and this cause of why they haven't been able to get to Barcelona under wraps. They've been able to keep it a tight ship. So fair play to them, because this sort of stuff leaks. And no doubt it will come out at some point. I mean, look, if they come out and they're able to, and they do really good lap times and there's no issues whatsoever in Bahrain, then maybe they'll release it themselves. But yeah. Is there a set time to the cars? Is there a set time to get the cars ready before the first Grand Prix? No, they can work on the cars all the way up until until Parc Ferme, which will be qualifying. So yeah, I think they have to. Well, no, actually, the practice weekend they have to declare new parts on the car to the FIA. They have to do that because they have to get approved and so forth. By the FIA. So it's not, I think it's in relation to new parts, they have to declare them heading into the race weekend. But they can change a front wing over to an old spec front wing if they want to. But Parc Ferme, once they're in Parc Ferme, that's it. Like qualifying, they can't change the setup. We need someone to get an insider for Drive to Survive. I'm sure they know what's going on with Williams. Drive to Survive comes out 27th of Feb, by the way, guys. So remember that. Should we get this car back on screen? Because I do like this image I do like this image. I am not a fan of the Red Bull livery. I've never really been a fan of Red Bull. But I do like the look of their car. But yeah, no confirmation yet on what Williams is. But yeah, the rumours are galore. Oh, bless me. Unless it comes from a reputable source, one of those journalists, like the race, don't pay too much attention to what is being spread on social media. So yeah, that's basically all I have to say at the moment on that, and I think that is where we are going to leave this stream. This first day of testing, there's not really too much else to discuss. Evan Soon, why no sim racing content? I'm just, when you have a daughter, it's tricky, and when I still work full time as well, this isn't the full-time gig, so I'm still getting up at 6 a.m. in the morning, I'm getting home at 6 at night, spending time with little one. There's not a lot of time in the evenings to jump on and do a live stream for sim racing content. F1 is a bit different, as I said, because I don't do it all the time, and because I can chat waffle for an hour and 15 minutes like I've done just now. That's really easy to me and no effort at all. Sim racing is a lot more effort. I still love it. I still want to get back into it and do more content on it. But for right now, it's not a priority. So yeah, but it will return. It will return, just not in the immediate, unfortunately. But yeah, thanks guys for tuning in. F1 just released highlights on today. Oh, how long are they though? How long are the highlights? Let's have a look. I'm not going to select this. Matt and Tommy have just posted something. So, K-pop on there. The little one's a fan of K-pop, by the way. 9 minutes! 9 minutes. Okay. So, we're not going to play any more of that because we don't want to get copyright striked. But I'm going to go watch that. I don't think there's too... Oh, do we... Actually, before I go, let's see if there's any information here that I'm missing then, shall we? Where is it? I just lost... Why is it disappeared? Oh, load up a new screen. Do you know what I'm going to do on here? Hang on. Day 1 highlights. It's such a shame I can't stream this, guy. Like watch this with you guys. It is such a shame because you just get copyright striked by F1. But Aston Martin turning up for Thursday and Friday. It's good for them. So something that I wanted to check. There's a corner. Something I wanted to check was to see whether the front wing... So we had this discussion yesterday with the Active Aero, is that in areas where it's not designated that you have the rear wing, but you can't use straight line mode, I wanted to see if there were corners or little short runs into corners where the front wing could just be engaged itself. So as an example, in... Circuit de Catalunya, where they're at the moment. So turn 3, you've got the big swooping turn 3. That little short straight to turn 4. Can you dip the front wing down to reduce the aero? And then of course it engages again when you touch the brake. That's how we discovered the Active Aero is going to be working here, or when you lift off throttle. And then similarly into turn 5 as well. Like, this is just something that we were discussing yesterday, Taco, and I haven't seen it clarified anywhere. That's the thing. I haven't seen it clarified anywhere. Because it does seem like it can be engaged separately. Because if you saw Lewis Hamilton's, when it came to... Because, well, they can also just... It seems the FIA have the ability to... Oh, hang on. There's footage here of George Russell's. Hang on. Into that little straight there. Because it seems the FIA have the ability to limit the engagement, just like DRS was really, to basically limit the engagement of active aero. And I believe the rear wing element is something that they can just turn off, just like DRS, because it effectively is DRS. But leave the front wing active. But I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. So I'm just looking at some footage now. George Russell going, or is it Kimi going down into that exact corner? Yes. Is it? Hang on. I so want to show this to you guys, but I can't. Go check it out. Let me play it slowly. Let me play it slowly. It's difficult to see. It's difficult to see. How do I slow this down? Come on. Playback speed. Here we go. Right. Playback speed. Yes. Yeah. No, they do. They do. Uh-huh. So. They do. Go to 1 minute 41. Sorry, guys. I know. And I can't. It's very terrible because I can't show you this. I'm just seeing if that rear wing is shut or is it open. Did he have the rear... No, hang on. I think he had the rear wing open as well there. I can't tell if the rear wing was open as well. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. It's difficult to kind of see, but yeah. Interesting, interesting. I wish I could show that to you guys. Of course, we've discussed everything that the drivers have said today. Go follow Adam Cooper on Twitter. He is definitely someone that you want to be following. 600 Grand Prix is attended. 600 Grand Prix. But yeah, he's someone that you'll probably want to follow this week. Chris Medland, I didn't see him tweet too often today. Of course, the journalists at the race will be trying to follow things as closely as you can as well. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow for day 2. The weather does look like it's maybe a bit more temperamental tomorrow. We're going to see McLaren for the first time, and I believe Ferrari are also going to be there as well. So we'll see how they get on. But the times today, timings are timings at the end of the day. Don't read too much into them. That is the benchmark for this week. That's one thing that we can obviously take stock of and compare for it as the week progresses. But the laps, the level of reliability. Yes, we had a few stoppages out on track, but the level of reliability was unbelievable for the first day of testing in this brand new regulation set. I don't know what the teams were worried about. What were they worried about, guys? What were they worried about when it came to reliability? Just show us the testing. Show us the testing. But good to see you, FBI. It's all right. It'd be great if we could see it, but hey ho, hey ho. I'm gonna do another review after my day at work tomorrow, same time, 8:30. Turn your notifications on to be alerted of when I go live, and yeah, we'll see what information comes to hand. But yeah, it's a bit late for them to post that footage, isn't it? To be honest with you, F1. Can't believe they waited so long to post it. But yeah, have a lovely rest of your evening, guys. Have a good Tuesday, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Bye.